So we're on to skill number 3, which is presenting. Why does presenting matter in a squiggly career? Well, I think we all have to present in some way, shape or form through the work that we do. And often we make the mistake of thinking presenting is like a jazz hands moment.
TED Talk.
A TED Talk, or there must be, we think presenting and we think a stage or lots of people looking at us. I also think it's a really common confidence gremlin for people. This idea of people are listening to me and are they judging me? Are they comparing me to other people? So I think we tie ourselves up in lots of knots around presenting. And so I think we've got to make it a bit more low-key and a bit more informal and just figure out how to do this in a way that works for us. Because when we do, I think it increases our impact. I think we can share our ideas. I think we influence better because people listen to us. But we definitely have to start by letting go of this idea that there is a perfect way of presenting, because it's just not a thing. And some of my favourite presenters, they're not polished or shiny or perfect. They're just compelling and they're interesting. And what you feel like from watching people who are very good presenters is they're definitely being themselves. They've probably practiced. It doesn't mean they're not trying hard, but they are sort of doing it in their own way. And I think that's sort of the first message to remind yourself of.
And you can always get feedback. Like it's to that point around sort of we're all presenting works in progress, but unless you do the presentation, you can't get the feedback. So you do have to do a bit of it to get better at it.
Yeah, so how are you going to do that? And what's your idea for action? If people are thinking, right, I kind of buy that, but I have to present in a team meeting or even just to one or two people, what could help you get better at presenting?
So one of the things that really helped me in moments where I was particularly nervous. So we do loads of presenting, and some of the moments I'm fine with, and some of them I do feel more nervous because the audience. I always find like presenting to your peers.
Yeah, that's
way
the worst.
Hard. Like people
or people I've worked for before.
Yeah.
Like, so a previous boss is like, come and talk about career development, and you're like, I hope I do a good job.
I know. Or I'm like, are you judging me? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, all that kind of mantra in your head, not helpful. So somebody said to me, I was doing a presentation, and I had that feeling of like, who am I to stand in front of these people? And it was almost like I was so in my own head that it was distracting me from what I was trying to say to the people. And someone just said, like, took me to one side, and they were like, basically, get out of your head and get into theirs. Like, stop thinking about you in this situation and think about how you can be useful in this situation. And like, it really made me think, like, what am I sharing today that's going to be useful? How could I be most useful to the people that are in this room? And it was quite blunt feedback. It's the sort of feedback you would give me, which is it's a feedback that sometimes it's quite hard to hear because it's quite blunt, but it's really, really helpful. And I was like, do you know what? I am too in my own head. Yeah. I am thinking about the me in this situation way too much, and what I should be thinking about, what is the most useful thing that I can say for these people that are here because their time is valuable, and what's the most useful way I can say it, and getting into their head and out of mine. It just shifts the focus in a way that I find really helpful.
My idea for action is to choose the words that best represent your presenting style. So be really intentional about probably only 2 words that you would want people to say about you if they've been in the room or the Zoom. So if you do ask for fast feedback, like what do you want people to say? So do you want to be calm and expert? Do you want to be optimistic and caring?
What are your words?
I always have optimistic or sort of enthusiastic. Sometimes I have enthusiastic. So like enthusiastic or optimistic, and that I care.
Okay.
So I want people to feel like I care about the thing that I'm talking about. So they're kind of left in no doubt that it matters to me. Sometimes I do slightly shift the word, maybe based on who I'm presenting to and the audience. So a few times where we've had to do things for like Radio 4, where I always think, everyone listening is smarter than me. And I will perhaps try and think, I want to be credible. Okay. I probably still want to be optimistic or enthusiastic and credible, perhaps more than caring in that situation. Or if I'm talking to a group of people where I think empathy is particularly important, I might be like empathetic to that group. So there are sometimes some slight shifts, but particularly when I'm nervous, to your point of, probably not all the time when I'm presenting because we do so much presenting, but when I'm trying to really think about the impact I want to have from the kind of the words I'm going to say, I think, I can't be all things to all people. What are the things that I already do well? Like I am enthusiastic. We're both quite smiley presenters. We're not sort of slow and thoughtful, are we? We don't have like these massive insights, but we are enthusiastic. And so I just sort of kind of start from your strengths, but then just be intentional about 1 or 2 words. And I gave that advice to somebody recently who was doing a big presentation that she was nervous about. This is someone who sounded brilliant, but she got a confidence gremlin on presenting, and she was a real expert in a very important topic. And she just said it really gave her focus. It helped her to find focus, and then she got some incredible feedback afterwards. I was really happy for her.
Very nice. Who can people go to learn more from?
I would recommend Viv Groscott, because she has interviewed loads of really interesting people about how to own the room. That's the name of her podcast. And she's got a book called that, and also another book called Happy High Status, which is actually builds a little bit on this idea of like bringing yourself and not needing to have like jazz hands, unless you want to have jazz hands. Helen. And so I think listening to all the different people that she discusses, like style and presenting and presence and gravitas, you definitely get this sense of this is personal. So you sort of let go of the idea of there's a perfect way to present just by hearing everyone from, you know, the lady, someone who's worked in the White House, to like a CEO describing kind of what they do. And I think you start to kind of create your own playbook for, well, how do I present in a way that works for me? And she's got a great style, and it's a nice mix of kind of practical and inspiring. So I think our listeners will enjoy that.
So that is the end of today's skill, and we will be back tomorrow with our next skill, which is all about coaching yourself.
So thanks so much for listening. I'm back with you again soon.